Welcome to the Kamado Show. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Coley. We are the brother-sister anime duo. And not in a love you like a brother-sister kind of way, but as in go ask our mom, she's the same person.
This show is an anime lover safe haven, catered toward the average anime lover, free from spoilers.
So this episode, we are going to be talking about Dragon Ball Daima, episodes 7 and 8. But first off, let's address who is this random man with us today?
And perhaps not so random, so why don't you introduce him, Coley?
All right, well, everyone, this is Skylar. This is my husband. So we are bringing him on the show. So Skylar.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So Skylar, what was your first anime?
Oh, my first anime, I believe, would probably be Dragon Ball, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
What a perfect topic.
All right. Yes. Right on.
Yeah.
That was mine too. Put it here, man. We're on the same page here. That's what we talked about this in our opening episode. We went through this. We talked about our first anime as well as what really got us into anime. So that's why I thought it was really cool to start this off with you. And just a little bit of background why we're bringing Skylar on this episode. Our initial idea when we launched this podcast was the three of us would hang out, as well as my wife, Courtney. We would hang out and watch anime movies sometimes, or just family get-togethers. We would hang out. We would just get so deep in these conversations. At one point, one of us brought up, we could like do a show as much as we talk about this stuff. Just plug in some mics and, well, one thing led to another. And you see, here we are now. So our initial idea was to have us three do a podcast like this, but due to scheduling and whatnot, with Skylar, Coley and I just kind of got this launched. And then now here we are, episode 20, introducing Skylar. So this is a big episode for us in general. We're
such a milestone.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. We're at episode 20 now, and now we're finally getting our initial concept with the three of us all together on this episode. I am so excited we're gonna get to know Skylar a little bit, and then we'll get into Daima.
Yeah. So we've got our OG squad together now. Well, I guess I'll ask you. So we kind of call this your gateway anime. What was the anime that like sealed the deal? What got you into anime? What was your gateway anime?
Gateway anime, I've watched so much since then. It's kind of hard to pin down, but I would say it was probably One Piece is where I kind of got caught up in this because there was so much content and I was so far behind from where they were currently at that it took me forever just to catch up on that.
And hearing you talk about One Piece, one of the times we were all hanging out, I remember thinking, like, boy, One Piece, I remember watching that as a kid. That's still going on. And so just you sort of talking about that got me into, I kind of want to see how that ever ended. And like I said, it still hasn't ended at this point in time. And so anyway, I started watching it to see whatever happened, and here we are. We're still going strong. Our Straw Hat crew is still going strong.
Yeah. So, what is your favorite genre, and what is your favorite anime?
So my favorite genre is probably isekai.
And what's isekai?
Isekai is basically someone either gets summoned or they die and get reincarnated, but they go to a different world. Generally, within this genre, they have enhanced abilities, either through magic or they were given gifts by the gods.
It's kind of like an action adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what's your favorite anime?
Favorite anime is not technically an isekai, but I have to say Dr. Stone.
Oh, Dr. Stone is cool.
Solid.
Okay. All right, lots of science. But anyways, let's get into our topic for today, which will be Dragon Ball Daima.
All right. They're kind of on their way on this plane, right? They call them planes. I consider it a spaceship, but whatever. They're on the plane to this Tamagami, right? To see the first Tamagami, and you kind of get a little bit of self-aware humor here right off the bat. Just sort of setting up the scene, but we joked about in our episode 1 about, or actually you said, like, Goku is just
Goku's such a bad dad.
Yeah.
Terrible father.
So he's just eating stuff in his stomach, and Pansy says, how would a guy like you ever raise a kid? And Goku just goes, I wasn't really involved. He just really shows, kind of acknowledges that he just wasn't that great of a parent.
At least he's aware that he was not present. Doesn't just kind of act like he was a great dad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was such a great dad. Very, very involved in, what's his name, Gohan's life?
Yep.
Maybe that's why he named his kids Gohan and Goten, so that way they were similar enough that, like, he didn't have to remember quite so many names.
That's true.
All right, so then they start to get a little more serious now, finally, with the collars, and they kind of give a little bit of explanation with that. Pansy says, like, well, some of us are little rowdy characters, I quote. So to keep us in check, they stick these magic collars around our necks.
And these magic collars, they can be tracked by the John Dimes, or the John Darmery, which
what's the
is
proper
like,
way to say that? Because I hear they said both ways in that episode, the John Doms and John Domery.
yeah, which basically it's like their military police for simpler terms, but yeah, John Darmery. So they're able to track these collars if they're scanned. So that's how they're able to keep track of people and kind of keep them in check and probably prevent rebellions, since like they are a rowdier bunch. But so we learn later that these collars are fashioned from
Catchinite.
Catchinite. Yes. So that is a metal that is only found in the demon world. In the second demon world, to be exact. So it's kind of seems like it's a glint material. And so we discover that it's probably likely something that Dr. Arinsu created to kind of help keep the people in check.
It seems like it is just a matter of not necessarily direct related to the glins. Maybe it is, but it seems like just he made it sound like really anyone can just take this off. You just have to know the magic to do it. So
yeah, he took it off so easily too. She was like, so she was just kind of like, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you had to do.
Yeah.
So we gotta spread that around.
And perhaps you'll kind of get this sort of Dragon Ball feel where they're going to sort of be liberated. You kind of go through each, I guess kind of in Dragon Ball, he almost went from like village to village or area to area and, kind of free them or defeat whatever big bad was taking over the area.
Mm-hmm. So that was my first initial thought. But then my second thought was like, they've had these colors on their whole lives. You would think that there would be like a significant tan line or grime buildup around their neck, because like they can't take them off. So I just thought it was kind of funny that they didn't like make any sort of reference to that. Like these have been on their bodies their whole lives. I don't know how tight they are, if it's a necklace where they can kind of move them around.
Yeah, because it grows with them. Does it just is it like loose and grows proportionally still stays loose, or how that works? How do they clean that in the shower, I wonder, or
I don't know,
or however they bathe? All right, so Skylar, we'll have you kick off the next point here. Basically, in the next part in the episode, Goku's crew gets pulled over by this military police, which they call the John Domery or just the John Doms, whichever.
Yeah. So the John Domery's trying to track down a spiky-haired kid, and they tell Goku kind of hide in the back with all the luggage and everything. They start getting searched, but all of a sudden Goku appears behind them, and Pansy's kind of almost gives it away by like letting out a yelp, kind of startled by him behind.
That sounds exactly like it. Yeah, good, very good.
But they later explain to Pansy that he has the ability of like instant transmission, so he kind of teleport behind them, and he runs and hides in a bush.
We discussed that that he was locking on to the Supreme Kai's ki.
Yes.
And Brandon, you had written some stuff down about what is a ki.
Yes. So, well, I guess first ki is the kind of that life force or that life energy that every living being has, which Goku can sense, which there seems to be not as common of a thing here. But what I think is interesting when they said ki, I was like, well, I know what it is. I know what that means, but I'm thinking back to Dragon Ball Z where they don't really use the word ki, at least in Toonami with what I grew up. They usually just say your energy level or life energy is what Goku specifically says when he shows him his instant transmission that first time, goes to Master Roshi's, takes his sunglasses, he says, I lock on to someone's life energy is exactly what he says. So I was kind of interested why they decided to switch away from that and go to ki. But I also remember, I'm gonna hold up my Shonen Jump magazine here, and I know sometimes I go back to this. Yeah, this is the October 2004. But let me flip to it here, and I'm gonna show you guys what they initially call it in Shonen Jump.
2004, so like what, 11 years old is that book?
21 years old.
Shoot. Okay, I might be bad at math.
But Krillin says his chi is immeasurable. He's beyond all of us. And this is Goku versus Cell, and if you want to know exactly where they say. But they use the word chi in the Shonen Jump series, in the original manga. So in the manga, they go chi. Then in the anime, at least Toonami, they said you just say life energy or energy levels, and now they're going to ki. So it's interesting. Really, I would call that a continuity error, and maybe that's me being a little nitpicky about this stuff. But maybe perhaps that shows my nerdiness. But I think essentially they all kind of mean the same thing across all that. But why they call it different things throughout the series, I thought is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. So then this fight with the military police ensues. So I thought it was kind of funny that like Glorio, he's using his purple magic lightning, and all the guys they're just using their powers and like fist fighting essentially. Pansy just tases a guy with a taser.
Yeah, best she can do, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, she apparently does not have very good magic, is what we found out. So she's not a great fighter by any means.
Yeah, but she's tech savvy. She's the Demon Bulma.
That's right. Supreme Kai shows what he can do, which we kind of already knew he has powers. Just pushes, just using his, call it magic, pushing one ship into another, or I'm sorry, one plane into another. If I want to be technical, what they call it here. Goku just shoots a ki, we'll call it ki, I guess, since this is what this episode is calling it now. A ki blast at the other fleeing one. And then, and then they cleared that area, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So the planes were flying around shooting at them, and they end up shooting Goku's ship. So the ship that they got from King Kadon is essentially toast at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
But thankfully, all the guys they beat up and they flee off, they conveniently left a ship for our group.
Yeah, nice little
Completely
upgrade.
untouched.
Yeah.
Wasn't damaged one bit.
Yeah, nice little upgrade for them. Around this time, we also learn Supreme Kai, as we've always called him, his original name, which I thought was interesting. What's his original name?
His original name was Shin, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what they called him in Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was his...
I'm guessing that's kind of like an alias he was using instead of using his given name.
That's my best too, and we talked about this in our last podcast episode. It was at the World Martial Arts Tournament. He didn't, when he was still kind of undercover, he just went by Shin. So I don't know if that's just a name he kind of took on at that point in time or where that came from. But apparently that's not his actual original name like I thought.
Yeah, so now he goes by, he says that his original name was Nahare. So that's very interesting. I wonder if he just decided like, well, I'm on a new planet, I need a new name.
Or a totally new realm, really.
Yeah.
Even a step further. Yeah, perhaps. And maybe that's like, in our cultures, there's names that we kind of associate with, well, that's an American name. That's, whatever. Perhaps it's the equivalent to that.
Maybe he thought that Nahare was going to be too challenging of a name for people to remember. I mean, look at Goku. He was like, "Oh, so I should be calling you that." And he's
no
like,
Goku.
Goku can't get Gloria's name right.
Gordito.
Yep. I'm keeping a running list of all the names that he calls Goku. Or I'm sorry, that Goku calls Gloria throughout this series. We'll see if that list keeps getting better and better.
Yeah. But
all right. So they receive word that Vegeta's crew is en route. Really not a whole lot of excitement there with Vegeta's crew quite yet, but we'll see them eventually. But Goku just like, well, that's great and all, but I just really want to see this the Tamagami. He is just dead set on that. Doesn't really care about waiting for them. So now we're gonna get to this first fight here with Tamagami number three. Right?
So number 3, he has a hammer. So I'm wondering if each of the Tamagami are going to have their own different kind of weapon. If maybe we've seen it previously in like a preview or something, that maybe it's a sword or a spear, but the first one has the hammer. So no one has ever challenged the Tamagami and won. So this will be a first time thing, most likely, but as we come out, I'm wondering if, since it's in the 3rd demon realm, do you think that it's going to be the weakest Tamagami?
That's a good possibility, but I feel like it's going to be kind of different trials. Like one's going to be kind of like a power build, maybe a speed build, and then maybe magic.
That's a good thought.
So there's probably going to be different trials to test the person, make sure they're worthy enough to get all 3 Dragon Balls.
I hope the worthiness is a little deeper than a cup switching match.
Yeah.
What was that about? That just seemed so random, just to kind of squeak in there for
like, why?
a minute.
Yeah, why? Goku wins, you think it's done. Right?
Yeah, I feel like Goku already proved that he had the cognitive ability to keep track during the fight, so it's kind of pointless to test him again after the fact.
Yeah, I thought that was a very odd addition to this episode show. Like, why bother including that in there? Just to add a little extra humor, or what was the purpose of that?
And then at the end, the Tamagami's hammer that was broke mends itself, and then he kind of goes back into his stance, which kind of iterates that they kind of take guard of the Dragon Balls always. So even after somebody summons them, will they go scatter around the world, go back to the Tamagami?
Oh,
that
that's
they originally
a good thought.
belonged to.
That's a good thought. I hadn't thought of that, because I was gonna ask, like, he like lost control of the Dragon Ball, which was like his sole purpose in life. Like, what does this Tamagami do now?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Just kind of has to wait.
But he seemed very peaceful, like transfer it over, like, good, congrats, you did it. Here you go. But this fight though with him was really cool, especially because you see a lot of action with the power pole. I'm pointing at our prop we have in front of the TV for audio only viewers, but the power pole, we get to see a lot of action with that, and kind of raised the question, like, how strong or how much, like, can this power pole put up, because it seemed to really hold up against this giant huge hammer.
Yes.
Yeah.
One question I had is it maybe not the strength of the power pole, but an extension of the person who's using it? Kind of like, I guess, in One Piece, how you call it, how they kind of extend their haki into their weapon, like Zoro, for example. Is there like a factor in that? That was also worth. So that was one question, but then maybe a point that would counteract that is, once Goku turns Super Saiyan, he does kind of say, okay, let's put these away now. So maybe that counteracts that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just really cool to see a little bit of that go and back to, I love it when they reference back to Dragon Ball, like they acknowledge this, and we can see a lot with the power pole. And
I thought his usage with the power pole was really cool. I don't know if you saw this or paid attention to this when they were in the middle of the fight, but he goes in between like that crack and like sticks the power pole in the crack and is able to flip around and like kind of propel himself back to the Tamagami. I thought that was really cool. That was probably my favorite moment in that
animation
fight.
there was really cool. Even leading up to that, when they're flying around all the obstacles on the, like a lot of just sort of like you see the whole scene just flip around in this 3D, that like the animation is just coming so far from the original Dragon Ball. And I love all this action, that stuff that we're seeing now.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool fight overall. I was expecting Goku to have a little bit more of a struggle. So that would probably be the only thing that I was a little disappointed with. And I think Goku seemed like he was a little disappointed too. He's like, kind of like, oh, that's it? It's over already?
Yeah.
I feel like the point of like the atmosphere, like you were saying earlier, I feel we'll eventually see more of his transformations down the line once he starts getting more accustomed to the thick air in the demon world.
Yeah. And I'm going to make a prediction that's different than Skylar's. Although in this show, usually whenever Coley and I have contradictory predictions, I'm wrong. So that might be the running theme. Like, I'm going to be wrong, but here's my prediction.
Coley's
that I'm
right
gonna,
all the time.
I'm going to say something that's different than Skylar. I think the Tamagami are going to get stronger, and Goku's going to will struggle more, and then eventually, I don't know, maybe he'll try turn Super Saiyan 3 or something like that. But again, my track record on this show is usually being wrong, or we played a game once and I lost. So, but we'll see. Crazier things have happened, so maybe we'll see what happens here.
I feel like the first Tamagami in the first demon realm has got to be the one that he's going to struggle the most
I would
against.
think so too.
Because it just seems like each demon realm has a very different caliber of people in it. Yeah. So I'm expecting it to be kind of like, so the third demon realm is kind of like a third world country, and the second demon realm is going to be kind of like your middle class, and then first demon realm is going to be like your higher end people.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm guessing is going to be going on here.
So I wonder if that last Tamagami, if it's going to be a matter of, I think Skylar, what'd you say again? Like kind of more trial based.
Yeah.
Maybe a tougher trial, or maybe be a tougher opponent. So maybe there's two. Well, we'll see. It'll be fun to see how things happen, and maybe the second Tamagami will answer that for us. All right. So moving ahead, we have so Glorio calls Dr. Rensu to report the first Dragon Ball was obtained now. So now the story is advancing, kind of stuff in the background here that we're waiting to hear. So we get a glimpse of the past where Arensu took samples of Majin Buu. So apparently Dr. Arensu was there during the fight with Vegeta and Majin Buu, I take it.
I thought that was very interesting. Like, because back in the day, you didn't see her when you were watching the original fight with Buu, right? You didn't see her at any point during the fight. Like, who's that lady in the background?
Yeah. I doubt there was that kind of foresight to put that in there. Like, or perhaps maybe there's been someone who like tried to actually go through, not like some Attack on Titan level stuff where you see Eren in the, in scenes or, that type of stuff. I don't think there's going to be that kind of, foresight ahead, but I'm sure there's people who probably tried to look back and see, but I doubt it.
But this episode, she was kind of looking more like a witch rather than a doctor. So we see her like riding a broom and mixing a potion. She kind of has a little underling to do her bidding. But it seems like the lady that she was talking to actually was a witch. So I thought that was really interesting that we're kind of unveiling some more secrets to what actually was going on during the Boo saga. So, what did you think of that, Skylar?
So going into that interaction where they're sitting there, she kind of makes it seem that she makes the other witch know that she has the power to kind of make things go her way, and that all of her pieces are starting to fall in place. And I feel like in the future we're going to see some things come forth that she has laid out in the long scheme of things.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting because we all were under the impression that Bibbidi was this mastermind who created who created Boo, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, right?
Right, yeah. And I wonder now, it almost feels like they're going to create another Majin Buu, basically, except this one will be a little more under control, perhaps. I don't know. I'm so tired of these villains that can just regenerate.
Yeah.
Blast them to a billion bits, and there's one piece remaining, and they just grows back.
Grow back.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm tired of villains like this.
I thought it was
so tired.
interesting that it required her saliva into the mixture.
That was to control him, though, right?
Yeah.
So they're trying to
Yep.
undo that. So that way you don't have an instance where Boo just power blasts his...
Boo
or
does
key
what he
blast. I'm
wants.
sorry, key blast. I want to make sure I use the proper term with this episode now. Key blast your master away.
Yeah.
I also thought it was interesting how they animated that scene too. Like they had her cover her face from the camera so you couldn't see her actually spit into the camera or spit. So
I
she
didn't
like
catch
covered
that.
she covered her mouth so the camera couldn't see her spitting into the pot. So maybe that's a little bit of a prevention of a fan servicey moment.
Yeah,
Like that you see in
Just
anime.
gotta remain ladylike.
Maybe, yeah. And, I wonder if in some cultures, is that like super offensive or considered like, I don't know, like if there's a reason behind that. I didn't even think about that. We should look into that. Or maybe we don't really have a viewer question for today. So here's a question for the viewers, and let us know your thoughts, why they covered her face during that. And there's perhaps we can just Google this and find out. I didn't even think about that. So at the Kamado Show, if you have any ideas why they did that, I suspect that's like considered like really offensive or something, and maybe some culture. So maybe that's why they covered that. But I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts.
No.
Yeah, that was kind of my only suspicion, was they just didn't want it to be a fan service moment where fans go crazy over that little moment
Yeah.
in the scenes, because like fans are gonna be fans sometimes.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, really, particularly with like Frieza, how they you see how they edited some of that where they can't show blood and some. So that what they did is they turned the blood to white. It's like that's
that
almost
makes
worse.
it worse.
That's almost worse. So like and like blood falls out of someone's mouth instead. It's like so it's just like I don't know which is worse here, but tried to make it better. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that goal was accomplished or if you made it worse here.
But speaking of goals, we do uncover what Dr. Arinsu's goal is. So she wants to become the Demon King. And I guess we also learned that during the Boo saga that most of the Glins either escaped the demon realm or they all died. So I guess... So we learn about her goal to become the Demon King during this little exchange. But our goal is for you guys to like and subscribe to our channel. So that's all.
Right. Yeah, that's right. That's all for today's episode. Skylar, thank you for joining us. Did you have fun today?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Good. Thanks for coming on the show. We'll have to have you back sometime.
Yeah.
I want to have you back more. I want to have you on every episode, actually. This This is fun.
The Three Musketeers.
All right. Well, new episodes come out weekly, so let us know what you would like us to talk about next, and if you would like to be a guest on the show.
Come join us.
Yep. And we will see you next time on the Kamado Show.